What's the word, Steelers Nation? You know what time it is, man. Like I said, we introduced this concept a couple of weeks ago where we said we were going to spend some time with PFF, Pro Football Focus, on a weekly basis and just ultimately see, what they are saying about our guys in the black and gold, man, following each performance. So obviously we've allowed some time to pass since that Thursday night situation, man, last week against the Cleveland Browns. But now that we've had that turkey up in our system and we've had a hard reset and we know we got action coming up versus the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, felt like it was time to go ahead and take a look back to see, how PFF viewed us, and we'll see if we agree with their grades or not. But you already know the drill, man. Hit that like button one time for the culture, and of course, do not forget to subscribe if you are new to the channel. So starting it off, man, on the offensive side of the ball, the highest rated starter that we did have in the game based on PFF was Russell Wilson. Shout out to Russ, man. Obviously, we know he played 62 of the 69 snaps that we played on offense. We know the 7 plays that he came off the field was for Justin Fields, but they had him rated at 79.9. Like I said, highest rated starter and highest overall offensive player as well in the game. The next highest rated offensive player that was on the list but actually did not start this game, oddly enough, was Pat Freiermuth. He had a 79 rating and he only played in 44% of the snaps, but like I said, did not start. In fact, the starters for this game were Connor Hayward, Michael Pruitt, Ben Skowronek as well, right? So that was another little twist, so to speak, with the overall personnel. And then Van Jefferson was the other starter. And then obviously we know in the backfield, I want to say it was Najee, who had the other start. So that meant no GP, no Pat Freiermuth, no Calvin Austin technically amongst the starters, but that was because we came out with a bigger body personnel grouping. Now, in terms of overall highest rated starters, the next highest rated starter was Van Jefferson. He only played in 18 plays, but he did start. They had him at 75.5 for his grade. And then Broderick Jones was the third highest rated starter on offense based upon PFF, played in all 69 snaps, and he had a grade of 69.3. And when you think back on Broderick's performance, he actually was the quiet one. We didn't have a ton of negativity with him. There wasn't, penalties, and he didn't give up the sacks that we did see, take place in the game. So it's like, all right, I like that. That kind of reflects, that kind of tracks. And obviously we know how Russ played, especially in that second half, man. Starting to throw that ball a little bit more, man. And we talked about the explosive plays that he was able to generate as well in a clean game. We said 21 to 28 for 270 and a touchdown. So I don't hate it. I kind of can see the correlation there. But let's continue with the starters. Next up, they had Najee Harris. And interesting, man. He only played in 27 snaps, 27 of the 69 snaps. That's all Najee played, man. But he had a grade of 68.2 for his grade. So a little bit interesting with that, man. But like I said, not a ton of usage for Najee. Let me see what he actually ended up with on the game. I actually forgot. Okay, so pull that up real quick. But yeah, let me just see what his overall, he was 16 for 41, 2.6 per, and then he had 2 catches for 13 yards. So yeah, all right, okay. But they still, like I said, had him at 68.2. All right, we don't hate it. I ain't tripping. Zach Frazier was the next highest rated starter, man, played in all 69 snaps, and he had a 61.8 grade. And we do remember, man, I know one of the sacks, man, was on him. I want to say it was Myles Garrett when he looped inside, hit him with a little bit of a move in that first half. We know the first half that Myles Garrett was having. But outside of that, man, I know they're going to bring up, I'm sure PFF was probably looking at some of the run blocking element as well, just because, like I said, it wasn't, a clear-cut dominant performance from him like we had been seeing. Those interior dudes from Cleveland they had some success on their side, man. So tip the cap to them, man. But as a whole, man, Zach Frazier still was our top 5. Yeah, so 5th highest rated offensive starter. All right. Then from there, man, Ben Skowronek, like I said, he started. He only played in 2 snaps, man. That was it. But he had a 59.1 grade. Then from there, Dan Moore Jr., 69 snaps, obviously, for him. And he had a 58.2 grade. And he was just ahead of Isaac Seumalo, who obviously played in all 69 snaps, started as well, and had a 57.6 grade. So back-to-back weeks now, if I remember correctly, where Broderick and Dan Moore were actually our highest rated offensive linemen. So shout out to those guys, man. But at the same time, when I think of Dan Moore, I'm like, man, this was not his best performance. Because obviously we think of the sacks specifically in the first half. But I will say in the second half, we actually did not hear a ton of Myles Garrett or a ton of anybody getting sacks on Dan Moore. So shout out to the fact that he fought back like a son of a gun, man. I guess that's the approach they went with him. Michael Pruitt, 32 snaps for him, man, 52.7 grade. Then Mason McCormick, 69 snaps, 50.8 was his grade. And then let me get to the final starter we said was Connor Hayward. He played 14 snaps total, and he had a 29.8 grade. He was actually our lowest rated starter and offensive player based upon PFF in their grading. So a little bit interesting with that, but at the same time, we know statistically, Connor didn't really, didn't have any production in that sense in terms of catches or runs. For him, it was more so the blocking element, and wasn't the smoothest of days for him. We'll leave it at that. But some notable names though, man. Like I said, Pat Frymuth was not a starter in this game, but still played 44 snaps. He was the second highest rated player on offense with a 79 grade for PFF. Next up, we know Calvin Austin. Shout out to Calvin Austin, man. He had the big touchdown in the game as well, man, to get us back into this game, man, in the second half, man. Shout out to him. He actually ended with 3 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Was our leading receiver for Calvin. He was the third highest rated player on offense, 40 snaps total, had a 76.2 grade according to PFF. So I do like that right there, man, because obviously we know the touchdown that he had and we know his production. We could feel that. We could see that. There was nothing fairy tale about that, right? Jaylen Warren, they had him slightly ahead of Najee Harris in the game. He had 39 snaps in comparison to Najee's 27 snaps, and he was 68.7, whereas I said with Najee, 68.2 for his overall rating according to PFF. Then the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that we all couldn't wait to see was GP. Shout out to GP, man. He played in 62 snaps, and he had a 66.7 grade with him. And obviously we know with GP, man, had some production, 4 catches, 48 yards. He did have the big 31-yarder, but at the same time, it wasn't as dominant as we've seen from him at times. And we know the elements did play a part of that. And what Cleveland was trying to do from a defensive standpoint also played a part. Another guy that wanted us to look into, man, Darnell Washington. Shout out to Mount Washington. We know he's been doing his thing, man. 38 snaps for him. He had a 54.5 grade according to PFF based on this game. And this was another one that was kind of weird to me right here. So shout out to Justin Fields, right? We obviously know he came in and had some timely possession and some timely production, on that. But 7 snaps, they have him graded at 51.2. I don't agree with that all the way, man. The 31-yarder, I thought, to me, puts you automatically in a 70% percentile, right? I mean, you only played 7 snaps, and if one of them was a 30-yard gain, and we're not talking like you had sacks or turnovers or anything negative per se, I don't all the way like that part of it, man. But like I said, we obviously wanted him to complete that pass. That would have obviously helped us out as well. But as a whole, I don't all the way hate the grades, but don't all the way agree with them either. All right. But now you already know the drill. Hit that like button one time for the culture, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's go look at the defense real quick. And the highest rated defensive starter for the Steelers in that Thursday night game against the Browns was Nick Herbig. Played in 45 snaps, and he had 93.1 for his grade according to PFF. And from a stats perspective, we obviously know we had the big sack, strip sack to get us back into the game, but he had 5 tackles total. Talked about the sack. He had 2 QB hits as well, and like we said, he had the forced fumble as well, man. So I don't hate that. I like that grade a lot right there. Shout out. Then from there, next highest rated starter, Cam Hayward. All right, shout out to Cam Hayward, 51 snaps, and he had a 75.1 grade. Then from there, man, we got the big 3. So Cam Hayward was at 75.1. That was the second highest rated starter. Third highest rated starter was Larry Ogunjobi, 41 snaps, and he had a 72.1 grade. Then from there, TJ Watt, 56 total snaps, and he had a grade of 71.2. And we obviously know it was a little bit of a quieter night for TJ from a statistical standpoint, but he still did some positive things out there in the game, so I don't necessarily hate it. He still had, 4 tackles, 1 TFL, so we know he still was doing certain things, but it just wasn't a loud TJ game. But from there, man, the next highest rated starter was Patrick Queen, played in 58 snaps, had a 66.7 grade. Dante Jackson played in 53 of those snaps, had a 65.1 grade. Cam Sutton, shout out to Cam because technically we did start in nickel. He only played 10 snaps this game, had a 61.6 grade. Then Landon Roberts started it also and had 24 snaps in the game, had a 59.7 grade for him. Minkah Fitzpatrick was, they had him at the bottom. He's bottom 3, 59 snaps, 48.2 grade. Then behind Minkah, they have Joey Porter Jr., 56 snaps, 46.3 grade. Yikes. And then the lowest rated starter that we had in the game was Keanu Benton. According to PFF, played in 28 snaps and he had a 38.9 grade. Whew. Interesting. I will say this, man. As we look at these grades in correlation to the stat sheet, some of it I do feel there is a correlation. There are others where, based off of what I'm watching and feeling, I don't necessarily always agree with it, but I'm trying to make sense of it. This is PFF, and we've seen at times where I do feel like the grading makes a little bit more sense, but still running into these issues where I'm like, all right, I guess if we're doing the JPJ because Judy has some success, sure. I didn't think that Minkah was that low on it, and they ran the ball that well that Keanu Benton should be the lowest rated player on defense. I don't know agree with that. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what to agree with it, man. But we understand that PFF matters to the National Football League, regardless of how we feel about them on a week-to-week basis. So we got to pay attention to them, man, because they're giving us some information here, all right? But in terms of non-starters and their grades on defense, I did like this. Peyton Wilson was our second highest rated defender in the game, and low-key was, let me double check, he might be our second highest rated player as a whole. Oh, he was slightly behind Russell Wilson. So Peyton Wilson was actually our third highest rated grade or highest graded player in this game, following Nick Herbig and then Russell Wilson. We obviously said Nick Herbig had a 93.1 overall grade. Russell Wilson had a 79.9 overall grade. Peyton Wilson is next with 32 snaps. He had a 79.7 grade. So that's pretty high for him, man. And when we talk about his overall production from the game, in terms of Peyton Wilson, 6 tackles, 2 of them being solo. But as a whole, man, Peyton Wilson's been playing well this season. I don't think any of us went to any game or left out of a game saying like, yo, Peyton was hurting us out there. And that's a positive, especially for the young guy, man. He's showing consistency, and that's what you need. Deshaun Elliott, he did not start because of whatever the formation grouping that we went out in, on that one. But he played in 54 snaps at a 69 grade. That would have been top 6 from a defensive side of the ball. Beanie Bishop is rated the 7th highest graded defender with 22 snaps, but he had a 68.5 grade as well. All right, so like I said, in terms of, let me see any other guys that played a ton for us on defense. I mean, those are mainly the guys right now, man. Those were mainly the guys. And then the new guy, Preston Smith, played in 17 snaps at 62.7 on his grade, but obviously was a quieter night for him as well. But to me, man, like I said, I'm back and forth at times with PFF because I can see where some of these grades make sense, and then I can see where some of them just have us scratching our heads. But at the same time, man, I do feel like this is something that we got to pay attention to, man, because they put these records, or they put these grades up here for a reason, man. All right, we got to get real comfortable. We got to understand them, man, so we can, figure out how to fight back and dominate that as well as dominating everything else, baby. But either way, you guys let me know your thoughts on some of these PFF grades, and do you agree with them, man? With some of these players, man, being rated as high or as low as they were based on that Browns game, when you go back and, think of the game, think of what you saw, and then think of the stats. Do you agree? But either way, let me know in the comment section. You know I appreciate you for tuning in. And until next time, baby, you already know the drill. Peace.